Annabelle was the focus of the case that was framed by paranormal investigators. Ed and Lorraine Warren took part of this during the early 1970s. It was highlighted in the book by the demonologist that it has been stated that it was one of the most unusual cases of a possessed object on record. In 1970, a mother purchased an antique Raggedy Ann doll from a hobby store. The doll was a present for her daughter Donna on her birthday. Donna at the time was a student in college preparing to graduate with her nursing degree and resided into a tiny apartment with her roommate Aggie, who is a nurse as well. Pleased by the doll, Donna placed it over her bed as a decoration and didn't give it second thought until a few days later. Within that time, both Donna and Angie noticed that there was something that appeared to be very strange and creepy about the doll. The doll apparently moved on its own. Relatively unnoticeable movements at first, like a changed position, but with the passage of time, the movement then became more noticeable. Donna and Angie would come home to find the doll completely in a different room, which they had left it. Sometimes the doll would be found cross-legged on the couch with his arms folded. Other times it was found upright, standing on its feet, leaned against a chair in the dining room. Several times Donna had been placing the doll on the couch before leaving for work, would return home to find the doll back in her room on the bed with the door closed. One night Donna was at home and to find the doll that had moved again. This time it was on her bed, and Donna came to find out that this was a typical doll. Somehow she knew this time it was different. Something wasn't right. A sense of fear came over her when she inspected the doll and noticed that it looked like blood drops on the back of its hands and its chest, seemingly out of nowhere. Red liquid had also appeared on the doll. Scared and desperate, Donna and Angie decided it was time to seek up to an expert advice. Not knowing where to turn, they contacted a medium sense that was held. Donna was then introduced by the split of the Annabelle Higgins. The medium related story of Annabelle to both Donna and Angie. Annabelle was a young girl that resembled on the property before the apartments were built. She was a young girl and only 7 years old when her lifeless body was found in the field upon which the apartment complex now stands. The spirit related to the medium that she felt comfort with Donna and Angie wanted to stay with them, moving by the doll. Feeling compassion for Annabelle and her story, Donna gave her permission to inhabit the doll and to stay where it was soon found out. However, that Annabelle was still not what she seemed. Later on the week, Donna saw that the doll, or Annabelle, was ripped and jagged with cuts in her mouth. One night Donna woke up to some singing like a little girl. She walked in her bathroom to see Angie dead with the words, "Wanna play?" written in blood of her friend. The doll, unfortunately, was never found. Lou was friends with Donna and Angie and had been with them since the day the doll arrived. He had never been fond of the doll and on several occasions warned Donna that it was evil, saying that she should get rid of it. However, Donna developed a personal tie to the doll and decided to keep it, despite Lou's feelings. Her decision was a terrible mistake. One day, Lou woke up with a jolt of terror, a jolt that didn't seem like it was the unusual nightmares. Somehow something felt different, what appeared to be a common case of sleep paralysis, but become so real. She looked around, but couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. At first, anyway, looking down at his feet, were the doll Annabelle. It began to slowly guide up to its legs, moving over to his chest and stopping at his neck. The helpless against it, the doll began to strangle him. After a moment, Lou, at this point of asphyxiation, blacked out. He woke up the next morning, certain it wasn't an ordinary night terror, or determined to get rid of himself of that doll, and the spirit have possessed it. Preparing for the road trip the next day, Lou and Donna headed over to the maps alone in the apartment. The apartment was eerily quiet. The silence was broken by rustling sounds coming from Donna's room, aroused fear, and someone had broken into the apartment. Lou determined to figure out what was causing the noise and quietly made his way up to the bedroom door. He waited for the noises to stop before entering and turning on the light. The room was empty except for Annabelle, who had been tossed into the corner of the floor. Lou seemed to be in a room of signs, forced to stay, but nothing was out of place. As he got closer to the doll, he got a distinct impression that somebody was behind him, spinning around for Lou to find out despite his uneasiness or nobody besides the doll himself was in the room. Then a fury of motion, and he found himself doubled over in pain, with blood dripping down from the cut on his chest. Upon opening his shirt, there was a chest that appears to be 7 distinct claw marks. I hope you enjoyed this article, and if you ever want to visit the infamous Annabelle, she could be found at the Warren Occult Museum in Multis, Connecticut. The museum is run by Lorraine Warren, who is the famous paranormal investigator and now frequent guest on the TV show Paranormal State, House in Glass case in the museum. You will find Annabelle. Miss Warren relates to that Annabelle is still moves around about occasionally, and is still known to make growling noises at unsuspecting visitors. And that, my little pretties, was Annabelle, a creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story? I gotta be honest, this story was actually pretty surprising. Like, this story, I honestly have to say that this was actually a very surprising creepypasta. Yes, it did unnerve me to an extent. Like, I remember hearing this story, I believe, back in 2015 or 2016. I'm not really too sure. I think this was a very older story, and I honestly have to say it was definitely something. Like about, the doll Annabelle, moves around and, acts weird and all that. I mean, that's actually quite freaky. Like, I actually found this story to be quite freaky at times, and I would have to agree with the paranormal, sighting about things that are going on with it. I definitely could honestly see this being the case. Seeing that, Annabelle is a doll. No, I no, not the Chucky version of Annabelle. Like, I mean, well, Annabelle's not like a Chucky doll, but yeah, I haven't really watched the Annabelle movies, and I mean, I haven't watched Chucky in like a while. I like Chucky, I just haven't watched him in like a really long time. But this story was definitely an interesting one when I first saw this story. And this story was pretty good. It was a very original story. It's a pretty good one. I really have to say it's really messed up, seeing the doll Annabelle, killing people. I mean, like, oh my goodness, it's very freaky. I can honestly picture this being the case with some people. You know, if you see like an animate object, was in one place, then moved to another. I mean, I've heard, horror stories that do that. And like, I have remember hearing, another, movie, but, I think I haven't really watched it that much, so maybe that could be it. Like, I haven't watched the narration of this story in like a while, so maybe that could be it. I don't really know. I would have to say though, it is a very freaky story. It's a good one. I'm not gonna lie. It's a great story. It was really well made. I love the detailing and everything. I found this one to be, it's a quite enjoyable story, and I really do like how everything about this one was flat out amazing. It's not terrible or anything. I just found it to be, quite an enjoyable story. Now, with that being the case and with that being said, I really do find this one to be, a good classic creepypasta. I mean, I haven't read this story in like a while. I didn't read this before in 2019. I did not narrate this, but I wonder if Shadow would like to go ahead and narrate this story. I mean, this is actually based on the true story, which is pretty neat actually. I've actually seen, a couple narrations of this story. I think this was written maybe back in 2012 or something. I'm not really sure exactly when it was made, but I think it was made at the time. I mean, it's a pretty freaky story. It's still a good one. I'm not gonna lie. Still a very good story, and it's really well made in detail. Like, especially how Angie dies, basically the doll kills Angie and then ends up writing want to play in like blood letters. Like, I mean, I know sometimes maybe that could be cliched, but if you find that to be a cliche in the story, then that's fine. I don't really see that being a cliche at all in my book, that is. At least that's just to me. But I'm going to sit here and say that this story was actually quite interesting. It's a good creepypasta. It had a very good concept. It's really well made, and I still find this one to be enjoyable. So, anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and say this that the grammar of the story is good. It's one of the best things I really like, as well as the way the story is structured out, and I really do like it. So, I guess with that being the case, that being said, I don't see anything that I don't like about it. But yeah, I maybe there might have been something that I might have missed that I really didn't care about. Yet again, if you guys want to point it out, feel free to. And if you want to read this story, it's on the regular Creepypasta Wiki. You are free to, go check out that story. And feel free to leave me what your thoughts are on that story, because I would like to hear your thoughts. Now, with that being the case, that being said, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regarding these creepypastas, and this is just simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a great creepypasta. It was very enjoyable, really well made. I haven't read this story in a while, but this is actually a good refresher. I really do find this one to be amazing, funny, and well done. And as always, yeah, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better. Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.